we start?
They've
Okay, okay, all right.
They will after now.
Oh,
So I don't have to cover, if I cough, I don't have to cover my mouth.
yes, you
You're
do.
telling me, right? I'm-
Yes,
that
you
was the
do.
way it is, okay. Or just go this way, right?
No, no.
To the right, to the
No,
right,
you
to the right.
put your shirt up over your mouth and nose.
Dry cleaned, I don't want to.
Shirt on. It's cold. You never say that when you come in my office.
There's a reason for that.
Oh, okay.
Usually it's because there's done.
Yeah, sometimes. Ready? Everybody ready? Good morning. Welcome back to Emergency Response Committee. It is Thursday, May 28th at 11:30 in the VOCC room. We'll do a roll call. Mr. Matthews. Present. Mr. Blau. Here. Mr. Taylor is being, I believe, replaced by Mr. Dodson. Thank you, sir. And Miles Davidson. Jane Lerms. Very good. And all are present in the VOCC room. Thank you all. We have online. Do we have anybody online, do we? Very good. So we don't need to worry about move to reconvene. All right. Got a motion? Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion is second to reconvene. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Thank you. I don't believe we need item number 1 since we were all present. Item number 3, discussion review possible action regarding presentation of emergency management. Good going. Thank you. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Motion is second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Thank you. Update. I do have some additional statistics and information for you today. May 25th of 20, presidential order to add to the travel ban for foreign nationals entering the U.S. from Brazil in the previous 14 days. So we have Brazil, Iran, China, and most of Europe was already included in that. State of Oklahoma, according to State Department of Health report released earlier today, 6,270 positive results. That's an increase of 41 since yesterday. And 326 virus-reported deaths, which is an addition of 4 from yesterday. Oklahoma County, 56. Tulsa County is 49. Cleveland County is 37. And 74.8% of fatalities had at least one comorbidity situation. And 168 or 51% of fatalities were connected to long-term care or nursing home cases. That's up 13 since the 22nd of May. 183,632 tests with 7,006 or 3.8% positive, and 5,236 Oklahomans have recovered of known ill with the COVID-19. That's up 101 since the 27th. 962 cumulative virus-related hospitalizations to date. 81 currently hospitalized. The average age is 65.2, and there's a total of 55 COVID cases in ICU currently. Fraudulent unemployment claims continue to rise, and the U.S. Department of Labor's Office of Inspector General and the U.S. Secret Service is now taking the lead. OSBI is still engaged locally. Dan?
I will tell you that we had 34 yesterday that Karen responded to. Yeah, the numbers seem to be increasing. And the good thing is we get responses back on them within 24 hours that they have been stopped.
Right. I believe you told us at the last meeting we were probably approaching 100, so now...
Oh, we're well over that now.
Yeah, 135-ish maybe?
Yeah, or at least.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Specific to Oklahoma County, according to the Oklahoma City County Health Department report as of today, 1,241 positive cases in Oklahoma County with 59 fatalities. I believe I said 56 earlier. My apologies, 59. 190 total hospitalizations. 883 recovered. Previous report said more than that, but information is a little bumpy sometimes. There is a 95.4% survival rate in Oklahoma County as of current. Multiple test sites are still available in Oklahoma County. There are 4 Walmart locations now. It's interesting to note that those are 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., so very limited hours. And the test location that was at the fairground has moved to the Southern Oaks City County Health Department on South Hudson, and they're also at the Northeast campus on Northeast 63rd. And beginning June 1st, those will also go down to 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. only. Oklahoma County, 7,816 tests conducted with 270 positive. There's another over 1,000 pending. And that's of the City County Health Department non-medical drive-through sites. Foot traffic through the county facility downtown, the annex and the courthouse, yesterday were a total of 1,032, which is down a little bit. On the 26th, we had 1,346, or roughly 300 more than yesterday. And then back on the 22nd, it was just over 1,000. So we took a spike on the 26th, day before yesterday, and back down to a little over 1,000 yesterday. Notable criminal hearings are to begin June 1st. Currently, it was only in custody, and that's going to be, according to discussion with some deputies, they're going to start also the out of custody on June 1st. Got a CARES Act update I'll provide to you. Would entertain a motion to receive this document.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion second to receive the document. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed likewise. You may have seen this. It's in regard to CARES Act funding. Not an urgent issue, but it could be potentially significant. I'd spoken earlier about some of what I would call ambiguity between the ability to use COVID-19 funding for the 25%, what's called non-federal match, if in fact you're pursuing disaster declaration related funding. Originally, we were told you could not, and then the president changed that, I believe, wanting to say May 18th. But anyway, this is formalizing that and putting that in writing that we can, in fact, use CARES Act funding for the 25% non-federal match with disaster declarations. Draw your attention to the second sentence in the first paragraph. That is the key. And I have this electronically if anyone would like it as well. My office has also provided an email to all elected officials, chief deputies, some supervisory personnel in the commissioner's offices, all BOCC department heads, juvenile bureau, public defender's office, etc., requesting information on current PPE and sanitizer usage, what they've used to date, needs, and future projections, so that we can pursue purchasing decisions and be looking at quantities, some of those kinds of things. So far, I've received information from purchasing and juvenile. and no response from any of the others, so we'll get that information going if they can. Any further questions or discussion regarding this report?
Just another item on the fraudulent claims, one of our county commissioners' names was included yesterday.
Wow. Do they have personal information on that commission?
Had the social
Wow.
and address. Move to accept the report.
Second.
Motion second to accept the report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Thank you. Item number 4, discuss and review possible action regarding presentation of BOCC departments. Do we have any information that's been forwarded or provided, or anyone wishing to represent BOCC departments? All right, no action there. Item number 5, discuss and review possible action regarding presentation from facilities management. Would entertain a motion to reopen item number 5.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise.
Figure showing what our current rate of usage and expenditure is for labor and sanitizing material.
Very good. Motion to receive. I'll second that motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed likewise. Thank you.
You'll see we're spending approximately $48,000 monthly to get us through the end of the calendar year. We'll need some $336,000 at this rate of usage and at these costs. So I don't know if costs can be expected to move in any direction, but generally this is what we'll be needing to continue to do. So,
Good. Any questions or discussion from Mr. Monroe?
Or are we recommending to keep the exits and entrances and all that physical structures the way it is right now? Or we move that, or does that change on June 1 when we move to?
I'm glad you asked that question. We'll get to item number 7. We'll talk about.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thanks.
No, you're fine.
Yeah.
We definitely have some information in that regard.
Okay.
Have there been any hiccups, Keith? Everything's still rocking along?
sort of. I think the folks are using the entrances and exits as determined. We did have one little hiccup. You know, rain does things, and so the plastic covering in our line erasing tunnel in the alley has filled with water that we have to squeegee out occasionally. So it's always some simple something that, you know, that we have to.
Is that value added or a complication?
It's a complication,
Okay.
really.
I thought it was an amenity.
Yeah.
The water.
Yeah, that was really
Well,
cool.
it gives people something to talk about.
Yeah.
Good distraction. Any other questions or discussion? I wouldn't have said it, but
Tell me where we're at on your lovely $48,000 a month. Where we're at funding wise.
Remember, we had transferred funding from various places within our budget to get us through the end of this month. We're going to need additional funding to carry us through to the end of the calendar year. So again,
And so there are a lot of moving pieces, obviously.
yes, we've tried to quantify.
Your contract with this provider will expire on June 30th.
Right.
Is it an option to renew, or did you tell us that services would have to go out to bid again? And if
It's
so,
out
are
to
they
bid.
already out?
It's out to bid. Now I believe purchasing is taking care of that. So I would anticipate costs shifting or moving.
And your current contract structure, I think, allowed for this mechanism that we're using to specifically address the COVID.
Yes.
I'm assuming that the new contract that we're going to enter into will also provide for a similar type mechanism.
Yes. That way we can expand or contract to the level necessary to accomplish what we need to do.
And that also would be important for the fact that these are directly tied to the COVID situation, which would make CARES funding available for this.
I believe that's correct.
Whereas if it were built into your contract going forward, it would be much more difficult to track. So,
No, these additional people come to us at a predetermined figure. So
right.
we document that, and that can be kept separate. Another thing that we began to think about a little bit today, when these funds are audited, it's a good thing, I believe, to, in addition to all the paperwork necessary to substantiate the claim, we're taking photographs of people cleaning in various places, the plexiglass that we have put in place, all those kinds of things, so that should things change, you have a picture, a point in time.
you mentioned, I think, that you had funding to get through this month for these services. So beginning June 1, which is Monday, you do not have funds available in your budget.
That's correct.
So what we would need to do, in my opinion, is recommend a transfer. Cody's sitting here. He's going to need $48,000 for the month of June. Are these bills? How are they paid? Weekly, biweekly, monthly?
Monthly and as needed for materials. I would like to, if at all possible, put this to some degree to bed beyond just the next month. If we have the availability to set aside funding that would get us through, even at this level of usage and expenditure, if we can manage 3 or 4 months, it gives us time.
Yeah, I think what you're asking is probably doable in terms of making a general recommendation that we set up within the CARES, much like we did for David and his PPP, some sum of money that you can draw down against for this purpose, but yet we don't know exactly how much it's going to cost and who the provider would be. And then for the expenses today, obviously, Cody and the BET are in the process of developing, and I think you have developed a form that will go out shortly for the departments and other elected officials to provide information to seek reimbursement. So you should get that relatively soon, so we can cover those expenses, hopefully. Right. And then the June, I would think Cody trying to set up a line item as quickly as possible in the CARES. And I don't know your meeting schedule.
I think it's discussed to some degree in yesterday.
Yeah, I slept through part of that.
Yeah, we'll meet next Tuesday, and there was discussion regarding setting up a situation similar to what had been done for emergency management, right? Creating an identified cost center. In yours is 1,400, 351, so maybe a 352 for facilities. We would either come to an understanding on a dollar amount, or this group can make a recommendation for us to consider on Tuesday as it relates to the amount of money that we would recommend the board to transfer from the 1,400, 350 account into a potentially newly created line item, 1,400, 352. That way he would have money available for the remainder of the calendar year to spend on these types of purchases. And to your point, we don't know exactly what the new contract is going to be. So if the contract is higher than what it currently is, and he needs more money, we could always come back in and transfer an additional portion at a later date.
Okay, so
Is it your intention then, once this line item is set up, purchase orders be, put in place against that line item or a reimbursement?
No, I think if I understand where BET is headed if I were doing this, I would try to set a date, June 1st perhaps, that from June 1st forward, everything be directly paid from a COVID cost center. Okay. And everything before that, obviously a reimbursement. I think it's cleaner. Okay, so based upon your numbers, it would seem that you would need approximately $350,000 to get from June 1 to December 30.
At these
numbers.
with these numbers, it's $336,000.
Okay, so I would make a motion that we would recommend, and I think you're going to do it anyway, but not that it carries any more weight, maybe less, that we would recommend to the BET that they would recommend establishing a cost center within the COVID money. I think Cody said it would be cost center 352. Something, whatever the appropriate number would be, possibly for facilities maintenance for associated costs of the COVID response from June 1 to December 30. And that number would be $350,000.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith.
Does that include, or is there still an outstanding issue of the funds that were needed to make up the deficit created for the last 30 days or whatever the period was? Did you receive a transfer to your general fund account for costs incurred when you brought on the new folks?
Yes, we moved funds from within facilities budget to cover these costs, and that would be a reimbursement that would be asked for, and should probably be added, if you want to account for it in that manner, to this $336,000 or separate.
I think you're going to approve separately.
Okay.
That's why I was asking.
Do you foresee an increase in these costs, either labor or materials, whenever the jury trials start back?
You know, I think we can anticipate costs to rise for a number of reasons. The availability of people, the fact that, we know we had to have these folks here to disinfect. And certainly when traffic increases, the frequency that we clean, I think, will have to be increased. More supplies, certainly.
How many face masks have we distributed so far?
I can't answer that question.
I do. Can find my right stack of paper and I'll give you some information. I carry a ton of different notes with me for these meetings.
Tell you that with the people we're supplying, our figure is 660 masks.
From the supplies that I had made available to me, which were Strategic National Stockpile funding source yet to be determined, we have distributed right at 5,250 masks. Those have gone to a variety of locations, obviously. I'll get that recommendation to BET on their agenda. Any further discussion from Mr. Monroe or facilities management related? Hearing none, entertain a motion to accept that report.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. See the report on item number 5. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Thank you. Item number 6, discussion review possible action regarding presentations from Oklahoma County Clerk, Oklahoma County Court Clerk, Oklahoma County Treasurer, Oklahoma County Sheriff, Oklahoma County Assessor, District Attorney's Office, Public Defender's Office, Oklahoma County Courts. Anyone care to represent, have information from any of those entities, elected officials, or departments or offices? Hearing none. Item number 7, entertain a motion to reopen item number 7.
I'll move.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed likewise. Thank you. My plan is to continue moving forward with the ongoing review of available PPE and sanitizing products and what the vendor perspective is. Continue to get bids and quotes and prices, and Chantel's been very helpful with that. They're all over the map. And availability sometimes is limited time-wise. People say, I can do it this week, and then they call back and say, we can't do it, it's gone, those kind of things. So we're continuing to move on those dynamics, but unless advised otherwise, I plan to have a requisition entered and purchase order in place within the next few days to move on a couple of the vendors that we have identified. And we are seeking a variety of pieces of information, obviously turnaround time, delivery time, quality of product. We've gotten references on some of them, previous customers, make sure we're not buying a piece of junk. You've heard stories of surgical masks that the elastic bands fly off and all that other stuff. And I don't have any intention of buying junk that's not going to be usable. But we do, unless advised or told otherwise, planning on moving forward with that. Those items will go into storage. I know there's still a question in regard to funding issue of the materials we currently have in place, which are strategic national stockpile, and it's my understanding so far, although not a formal informational piece provided to me yet, but it appears those were funded from state funds, and obviously the orders that I'm preparing to provide and procure are going to be the COVID-19 funds. We did receive guidance on those, so it's going to be different. I would love to avoid a situation where we have two separate sources in-house, a pile of masks from stockpile state funded, another pile COVID funded, and have to ask everyone at the door who they work for, who they represent, and decide accordingly. I don't know if we're going to be able to get clarification on that as we move forward, but I'm going to continue using the strategic national stockpile items for now. Obviously, the others aren't in-house yet. So, any discussion on that?
So what are the recommendations as far as moving to phase 3 on the entrances and exits?
I'm glad you asked that question. Another document to receive, maybe more information than you probably have. Need to receive that.
Move to receive.
Second.
Motion second to receive. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed likewise. Thank you. I went through and I marked, this is obviously the state's guidance on the reopening, re-entry, whatever you want to call it. Multiple phase, 3 phases. They are a cumulative situation, cumulative guidance. Each successive phase is dependent upon meeting certain criteria in the previous phases. Mr. Dotson, your question was specifically in relation to phase 3, and I can go over to that, which is page 4. The goal of June 1st is still a target date. According to information I'm receiving from state, I have not heard any contraindications to indicate that we are not on track to get to that. If you look through this document, and I've got several pages marked up here under phase 1 and 2, it's again a progressive situation with dependencies on what occurs and particular issues in regard to manageable level of hospital and incident rates for 14-day period during the previous phase, and that still is in place. I've not heard, I've not heard of any challenges to that, and by challenge I mean it has not gotten out of hand, it is not manageable at this point. Phase 3, the guidance is actually wide open. That's why I ended up reviewing the entire document, because phase 3 is more, at least the verbiage in this document, is more geared towards healthcare providers and hospitals, nursing, and long-term care facilities. That guidance is in broad phase. The employer guidance across the board, not just healthcare, is that employers can resume unrestricted staffing of work sites. We obviously have continued to recommend working telecommuting and working remotely if possible, and I'm still a strong advocate for identifying the efficiencies we've gained in that regard and continuing forward even after this situation has passed. Places who have identified greater efficiencies and efficacies in regard to the new business practices, we've got to capture those. That's the positive side that I hope we see when we come out of this on the other side. And we certainly encourage that, and this committee, in fact, has formally encouraged that through guidance that was approved by the Board of County Commissioners. Phase 3 here, you see hospital incident rates again remaining manageable level for more than 14 days. Key for employers can resume unrestricted staffing of work sites. Visits to senior care facilities should still be prohibited. Obviously, the highest risk, and in my statistics, it was very high percentages of the fatalities are still related to those facilities. And visits to hospitals are subject in broad sense based on what the medical condition, what the person is in the hospital for. That is where limitations on the number of people who can visit, et cetera, are allowed in those facilities. And obviously, if they were in ICU as opposed to somebody having a baby or whatever, it's going to be some differences there. But again, phase 3, in regard to this document, what the state is recommending, which is based on based on state health department CDC guidance, it's pretty broad, it's pretty wide open. Social distancing continues to be an issue. Encouragement of wearing a face mask when in public or in situations where you cannot maintain adequate 6-foot social distancing. Continued cleaning of surfaces, personal hygiene, the stuff we've been talking about since day one, still remains in place and is still certainly recommended practices and procedures. Aside from that, there are no substantial changes, just continued moving that direction. Restaurants continued with limited seating, staggered every other table, those kinds of things. The workers in restaurant situations, they're taking temperatures. Regardless of what you think about that, they're still doing that in the restaurant situation and are supposedly wearing face masks, coverings, and hygiene issues there. Pretty much returning to wide open.
I just wonder if we're recommending any difference for facilities as far as our new egress and the exits and the manning of them and everything.
Right.
No changes, or?
I think this committee's talked about it, and I think June 1st is going to be an important day for us. We're going to see more activity. Again, the not-in-custody trials are going to resume, so there's going to be additional traffic. If you look at the numbers of how many people are coming in this facility as opposed to coming in the courthouse, we've been very successful in shifting a significant portion of the people coming in to the courthouse facility as opposed to having them come through this facility to get to the courthouse. For example, yesterday, 626 here in the annex and 406 in the courthouse for a total of 1,032. It used to be probably maybe at the most a fourth of the people coming in were coming in through the courthouse, and now you obviously see we're up 45%.
Yeah.
So I think that change is been very positive and is certainly warranted and should continue. But I think June 1st, again, is going to be a critical day for us just to evaluate potential increased traffic. And I think that's where we put we've got a meeting of this committee at 11:30 on Monday, June 1st to review for that purpose. You bet.
David,
Sir.
Not that you have the ability to change where we appear to be headed, but can you speak to a little to the first portion of this document that talks about the ability to do contact tracing?
Uh-huh.
Where are we? We've talked several times. The state was looking at hiring, I think the number might have been 1,000 individuals to do this. I believe I saw a report yesterday where it indicates that the state will not hire that number. Is that because they don't have the capacity to hire them? They can't find qualified individuals. The need has changed. Kind of how that situation is evolving.
I've only had limited information on that, but what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing and pulling those factors together, it appears that the need has in fact changed. There are several mechanisms in place through the health department, both state as well as local health departments, city, county, et cetera, that has some tracking ability built into it, the reporting of symptoms and through the healthcare facilities and through the testing facilities. I won't say that is the sole reason why they are backing off of that number, but I know that that information is being made available to other sources. And as the curve flattens, as they say, or the numbers continue to improve, I think there's less emphasis on that particular element of it.
Where are we in terms of the ability to test?
Testing capabilities are widespread. In fact, that's part of the reason they have gated back on the actual hours available for testing, is people are backing out of the testing in regard to pursuing it. There are multiple test sites and multiple tests available.
Testing is one thing. Getting the results is another. Is that statement also true of the ability to produce the results in a quick time frame?
I'm still hearing of some challenges in that regard. In fact, one of my statistics
At the Walmart site, 3 to 5 days right now.
that's generally what I'm hearing as well. Right here, the city county health department non-medical drive-through site, they conducted 7,816 since the beginning. As of the last 4 days, there are still 1,044 of those pending, just in a 4-day period. So the results are not conclusive.
So the caution is, while we appear to be headed towards people do what you want when you want, the caution is that we may not have the testing capabilities, or if we have the testing capabilities, we may not have the ability to recognize a spike
Rapidly identify. Yeah, I would agree with that.
And so that is a cautionary tale that this group and others should be mindful of when making determinations regarding what we might do here.
Would agree, and that drive exactly what we've been talking about the June 1st. If we see a surge in people coming through, it's anticipated a surge in potential risk exposure as well. I think in looking at modifications, if desired for things that are going on here, they may be more in terms of allowing use of different entrances, excuse me, and exits, and maybe the cones and some of those kinds of adjustments. I personally do not see us in the very near future backing off on the recommended mask usage. I see us continuing the efforts that Mr. Monroe has been leading and continued sanitation, sanitizing, and those kind of things. I don't see any back off of those anytime soon.
My initial thought process would be that we would not change what has now become a habit for our employees of using a separate entrance, only suddenly to change it again. I think we should move slowly and allow the data to catch up so that when we make these decisions, hopefully they're able to be long-term decisions. Now, of course, we're talking a disease where up to 50% of carriers don't know they're infected. So we may, no matter how well the plan is put together, be forced to make changes, but I think slowly moving rather than rapidly moving, is a better process.
I would agree with that. Knee jerk cause you to have to make rapid changes, and we don't move, we're not that agile here, so I would agree. Any other discussion? What's your perspective?
I would agree. I don't think we need to make changes right away because our numbers will increase next week. And we need to see where we are before we consider any changes. And as Joe said, let the numbers catch up and use the best data available. I will say I had a family member that got the antibody testing done 2 days ago and had results the next day.
Hmm?
So quick, easy process.
However, Dan, the science on that is inconclusive,
Well, you're right.
which
As is much of the science on the regular test. I think that's part of the issue with the lag time.
begs the question of, you need to rely on common sense.
Right. That's back to your original point. Don't make a rash decision.
Right.
I agree. Any further discussion on item number 7?
Move to receive.
Second.
Motion second to receive the report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Thank you. We do have a meeting scheduled for June 1st, next Monday at 11:30. Be my recommendation that we shut this meeting down. I need to recess unless you want to come back tomorrow for additional update.
State Board of Education just approved the Saturday school option. We could always consider coming back on Saturday.
Or Sunday afternoon.
And you'll lead the way, right?
No, because I'm going out of town.
Buddy, what's a good time for you?
I'm always looking out for Cody.
Make sure that we have the WebEx option.
Yeah.
On that note, I will move to adjourn the meeting.
And I will second.
Got a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Very good. This meeting stands adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you for saying that.